Hey, episode 29. It's music on our mind as promised last week.
Yeah, the first of two episodes this week. Huh?
Yeah, man, the first of two episodes this week. And we're purely doing this to essentially discuss Tool's latest album, but we thought let's make you wait for it and instead suggest some music that's been on our minds these days and talk about that too. So, relatively the same format as we've done in the past. Only thing we're limiting ourselves to 3 albums apiece at the moment, only so that we can try and create some more time to discuss about Tool. Anyways, Peter, would you like to begin?
Yeah. So the first album that I've been listening to a lot in the past few weeks is an album you kind of mentioned in passing in one of our earlier episodes, Cloud Kicker's Unending. And
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Cool thing about that was it was just a surprise release. There was no like hype or build up to it. So I was like, whoa. And as a result of that, I think I spent the entire weekend just listening to that album. And again, for me, it still has that whole atmospheric soundtrack kind of vibe that he's been going for in the past few albums. But, fans of the EPs that he released will be glad to hear some elements from it. And I'm going to butcher the name of their second track, but Zawik, that's the track where you kind of realize that, okay, he's kind of getting back some of those elements from there. Yeah, I mean, the less
I think the only really truly experimental thing which he did was Womb, right?
Yeah, that was
Womb was the one which was very left field.
Droney,
correct, very left field. Yeah, this one definitely had that Cloud Kicker vibe from the earlier stuff.
And I was really happy to see it because at some points when he was releasing all the ambient stuff, you're like, okay, like is he completely forgetting or he's going away from that direction? But yeah, listening to this album was really cool. I picked it up on Bandcamp, and he's also released like the vinyl masters. So all you audiophiles listening in, that'll be something cool for y'all.
Yeah.
And I think he's doing vinyl and he's doing a bunch of stuff. So really excited.
Even he's on Apple Music and streaming now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, finally he's on streaming. So I was like, even though I bought it on Bandcamp because I just love supporting an artist like this. But yeah, man, really, really good album. Solid listen. I really feel bad for all the other artists who released music that weekend because everyone.
Really? Oh yeah, it was a week before the Tool release.
Yeah. So very, very strategically also a week before the Tool release.
Yeah.
But something that I also came across through Intronaut social media recently was that he'll be involved on their new album. So
correct. They've got a new drummer now. They're going to start recording, and you can expect that album in 2020. So I'm excited.
I'm also excited. And especially when they explicitly put it out there that Ben's going to be involved in the album. I'm like, wow, this is going to be
good.
Nice.
Friends for life.
It
at least seems that way.
Yeah.
All right. So from your Cloud Kicker, I'll move on to a band called Grima. Grima is an atmospheric black metal band, and Will of the Primordial. That's their album. It's their third full length. Well, take just one listen to the album to gauge where they're from. That's because of the use of accordion in black metal. Yes, accordion. Accordion is a quintessential, which country? Russian.
What?
Yes,
okay.
it's a quintessential Russian instrument because it's present both in the music and the literature. But this isn't folky black metal as such, right? So the accordion really doesn't distract from the mix of basso, tremolos, and blast beats. It's very pleasantly mixed in. It's very welcoming. The songwriting and song structuring is on point throughout the 48-minute album length, so much so that it was one of the few releases over the last month or so that managed to make my skin break out with goosebumps. It's that good.
Right.
I think you should check it out. It's called Grima, and the album's name is Will of the Primordial.
All right. Definitely going to check this one out.
Yep.
All right. The next one is an album that had, if you were on social media, especially Twitter, this had a lot of hype.
Slipknot?
No. Again, if you were on metal Twitter, so this is an album called Curse These Metal Hands. It's a collaboration album between, and I'm again going to butcher the name, but it's Pinge and Conjurer.
Yep.
Again, for those of you who heard the album, can kind of just skip forward because you'll know what I'm going to say. The most obvious thing is this was supposed to be the album that Baroness should have released.
I completely agree with you. Thank you for putting me in touch with this band and sharing the promo when it eventually did come out. Yes, it is a fabulous release. I don't know why I didn't include it in this top 3. Well, maybe it's because we've been listening to it for so much time now. I think the first couple of tracks came out when we did our last Music on Our Mind. So which is why it's just taken a back seat, but excellent, very strong album. Definitely get the Baroness thing that you're
thing is, if you look at it, like Pinch is a post-rock band, Conjurer is more like on the extreme side, and then you have both of these guys coming together, and I believe they're performing this live, so I'm really envious of those who are going to catch this live. Again, very uplifting release. When I was thinking about it, and I just suddenly saw like a thread through all the music I've been listening to, very kind of like positive in a way. It gives you, while most of metal kind of leaves you like feeling bleak or dark, this was like left me very positive, uplifting.
Yeah, it is a summer album,
and
it's a completely summer album.
Again, 4 tracks, 32 minutes. There's only one track which is 2 minutes. The other ones are really long. It doesn't feel like a tedious listen at all. I mean, you just want to hit play when you reach the end of the track. So, yeah.
I'm glad you're excited by that. And since you have a band that's comprised of 2 bands, I will throw in my next album, which is Synthiosis. It's by Waste of Space Orchestra, which is a collaborative project between Oranzi Padzazu and Dark Buddha Rising. Now, this project was originally a one-off live commission for Roadburn Festival in 2018, but these guys stuck at it and released Synthiosis in around, I think, April or May this year. I've only discovered it a little while back, which is why I'm talking about it now. It's a really long album. It clocks in at around an hour and 4 minutes for its 9 songs. It's tough for me to categorize the sound as such because it's an amalgamation of, I don't know, I would dub it psychedelic black metal.
Yeah, there's like, I think I've heard like a single or 2 of this.
Like,
I don't think I went through the entire album.
Yeah, so it's like you'll find black metal, you'll find sludge, you'll find doom, and definitely it's an album that is made to be played in sequence from the front to the back with no real singles as such, even though they have released a single, I think, but I couldn't really find a single type of a song on it. This one's made to zone out too, especially if you're having a day that's not hitting the right marks for you. So yeah, that's my second album, Synthiosis by Waste of Space Orchestra.
All right. Before we come to our conclusion, here's an album that I'm going to have a lot of people like turning their noses up to or cringing.
Okay.
But just for like nostalgia's thing.
Slipknot.
No. I don't think I could listen to that album at all more than once. But Killswitch Engage. And this is one of those albums that I had to like, because Cloud Kicker dropped, I had to like not listen to this, and then I think it was midweek after that I kind of went in. So yeah, Killswitch Engage are back with their new album Atonement. I'm going to start off by saying that vocalist wise I prefer Jesse Leach, just because Alive and Just Breathing was one of the first Killswitch Engage album I heard. So I prefer his like vocal textures, like the abrasiveness he brings to it. But of course this is not the Killswitch Engage of that time. It's still got like the melodic elements and stuff like that.
Aren't they friendly with Howard Jones?
Yeah, so Howard Jones. So that's
doesn't he also perform on some part of the album or something?
So that's the thing. So for me, this album, even though they've been back with Jesse, I think this is their 3rd or 4th album. For me, this is their album where they sound like rejuvenated. They sound like they're back. The highlights of the track is, like you mentioned, track 2 itself, the Signal Fire, where they have Howard Jones in there. And of course, you get Howard doing the clean parts and stuff like that. So it's really cool. And the video itself, because I just saw it a few days back, it's like this whole, band jamming in a basement kind of thing. And you just have Howard kind of just walking in, just like it's a normal thing. And if you think about
like Farhan Akhtar and Rock On when they reunite.
I'm not gonna comment on that. But they still kind of maintain their sound that you're known for. Track 4, The Crownless King, features Chuck Billy. So obviously this is like a thrashier track in there. All the tracks are kind of like anthemic in there. They've of course got their singles, I'm Broken Too, and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that they talk about is just lyrically is the struggles that Jesse goes through. Like he's talking about mental health and stuff like that. And one of the tracks that really, lyrically is in your face is a track called Take Control.
Okay.
Where Jesse's like literally like stay bare and telling you like gotta take control, and there's gonna be stuff that's gonna be bad. So yeah, man. I mean, I'm just thinking about it in light of our recent conversations about just positive metal. Here's a band while there's a lot going on in the world that we currently live in. This song kind of speaks out to people, and of course it's the right time in there. So if you're listening to that track, it reaches straight out to you. So yeah, man, really excited to see Killswitch engage back again.
Will it help a non-fan, me in this context, finally get what Killswitch Engage are all about? Because I've heard the end of Heartache. My favorite, like, Killswitch Engage for me, at the moment, unfortunately, begins and ends with 2 singles.
Yeah.
One which is their fantastic fucking cover of Holy Diver, which I thought is one of the best covers ever to be released. And the other one is their song called This Fire Burns, which was the entrance theme for CM Punk in WWE.
Oh, this is a great way.
And both of them feature Howard Jones.
Even for someone like me who's heard their stuff with Jesse Leach prior, their earlier releases, this was great to see him, because this time he kind of focuses on both aspects, the clean and harsh vocals. And again, a lot of people bring them down and say, oh yeah, they're mediocre in terms of their this and that. But while I was listening to their leads, it's a lot just like if you are a melodic death metal fan, so like, the early In Flames and Soilwork and stuff like that, they've kind of incorporated that in there. And of course, most of the metalcore bands, or at that time when they were called new wave of American heavy American heavy metal, kind of take inspiration from that. So it's a mix of the hardcore with, of course, melodic death metal in there. I enjoyed the listen. I think you should give it a try. Don't go for the singles to start off with. Go for like some of the heavier stuff, because
I'll definitely, if I ever check them out, it'll be the whole album.
Yeah.
But
for me, the Howard era, when I look in retrospect, was more like pop metal. So of course, like purists would have been kind of put away, or been like, okay, what's this guy up to and stuff like that.
He has a fantastic voice.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, like
and it's a voice fit for metal.
Yeah,
but
there's a reason
more
why
old school metal.
There's a reason why they brought in Howard back again to do a track, right? Because of course that voice has become, whether you like it or not, synonymous with Killswitch Engage. So yeah, definitely give the album a spin. I'm pretty sure for non-Killswitch Engage fans also, it'll be a good listen.
Okay, cool. I'll try and check that one out. All right, my last pick for this episode is Infinity Shred's Forever a Fast Life. I'll describe this as post-rock. I mean, it's leaning into post-metal, if that's a term. I don't know if that is a term, post-metal. But Forever a Fast Life is the third full length from this New York-based trio, which is called Infinity Shred. It's all instrumental. The album clocks in at a long 53 minutes through 10 songs. Now, here's the thing that sets it apart from most other instrumental albums. Now, I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, but I find that the average instrumental album, it tends to start off with a bang, and then kind of like after the third song, it settles into this sound that over a time you forget to pay attention to. It'll like absolutely lose your attention while listening to the remainder of the album. Depends. Like it goes into the background, right? Like nothing like really screaming at you. I mean, the average instrumental album, which is what makes this one worthy to talk about, because that doesn't happen here. It's a great album, and let me rephrase that actually. It's not as much as an album as it is a soundtrack of sorts. and I've used it to commute. I've used it to encourage daydreaming. I've used it to stimulate my neurons to work overtime and visualize some, like, unmade movie or something of that sort. But if you like instrumental metal, or if you enjoy, and again, a weird mix of synth wave, post rock, post metal, shoegaze, etc., that kind of feeling, this is something definitely to look out for. It's called Forever a Fast Life, and it's by Infinity Shred. Wow. So 6 albums already down.
Yeah.
Of course. Now let's talk about the big album of, I'm guessing, the entire year at the moment.
I would call it like probably last 5 years.
No, I don't think it's like that big, because at the moment, we are in the prime rising phase of the hype cycle of sorts. So it may seem like that, but it's definitely not that, at least in my view. We are talking about Fear Inoculum. It is the latest release by Tool. And if unless you've been living under a rock, you would know that Tool have a new album out. It's their first one ever in 13 years. And it's a fucking long listen, man. 87 minutes, 85 to 87 minutes. Yeah.
Here's the thing, it didn't need to be that long, right?
I kind of agree with you on that. But wait, let me start constructing this into some sort of an objective review. I know we both will have our subjective takes on it, but let me first try and just get a couple of reactions in. Peter, are you a Tool fan? And by that, I don't mean are you a Tool fan, and with fan in inverted quotes, but I mean, do you enjoy Tool's discography before Fear Inoculum?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, same here. I, for a brief moment in time, was a Tool fan, a super fan, who would believe everything that the band puts out. And one of the stereotypical things that people make memes out of these days, where after discovering that Fibonacci thing in fucking Lateralus, I went in like, holy shit, this is like the holy fucking gospel.
So
I'll
define the kind of fan I am. I actually own about 4 of their CDs.
Yeah, so do I.
Kind of paid for it, bought it. So
you own their music because it's good music.
Yeah.
Right?
And I want to listen to it back again sometime.
Of course. Yeah. So, okay, cool. So we both are Tool fans. Okay. That's great to know. All right. Next question. Were you eagerly anticipating a new Tool album?
No. I thought it was all a joke, and they were just trolling us, and they would, on August 30th, they'd have been like, fooled, yeah. So I wasn't one of those people who waited up till midnight to check my Apple Music update or things like that, even though I saw all the tracks and stuff like that. Especially like after you heard the first track, like the first single. And I remember asking you, what do you think of it? And I was like, do I want to listen to another Tool album? Because as a Tool fan, I'm very happy to go back and listen to the older stuff, which I actually did in the past week. I went back and listened to the older stuff to just kind of realize what made me enjoy this band. Like, what are the elements that I really liked? And then with that reference, I went to listen to Fear Inoculum.
Okay. That question thrown to me, I wasn't expecting a new album at all. I thought Tool were done and dusted with. It's great that they did release new music, but yeah, they released new music. That is a big news story, I get. And yes, they've been doing lovely live shows, and obviously the legends around the music is what keeps fueling the growth of the fan base, etc. And definitely, I was expecting an album when they eventually did release that there is going to be an album out, but I wasn't expecting it to be this. If
I could throw a question to you, what were your expectations, considering you had there was new music coming out?
I'll tell you my expectations. Now, if you go back into Tool discography, right, you start off with Undertow, Enema, Lateralus, 10,000 Days. Each album sounds different. Each album sounds like a progression of the previous album. There's something drastically sonically different while keeping the roots of it the same, right? So I don't know. That's my perception of it. Do you think so?
True. And like for me, it went the other way because I first heard 10,000 Days.
Okay.
And I was like, whoa. And that was when, like, this is when, again, coinciding with the time I was really getting into metal and, progressive music and stuff like that, discovering new sounds. So Tool are one of those bands you always hear about. So I was like, hey, new album out, check it out. Whoa. They had a great single for the album and stuff like that. So, of course, went in and bought the rest of the discography, checked it out and stuff like that. So, it worked the other way around for me. I didn't go...
Yeah, okay, cool. But at least you got a different flavor for each album, from each album.
Yeah.
Right? So, I was expecting something to perhaps take the 10,000 Days sound and, I don't know, maybe show us a different variant of it.
True.
Or show me a different flavor of it. Or perhaps, for using the most fucking Tool word ever, evolve a new sound.
And the thing is, if you think about it...
And that's exactly what I was expecting. I mean, come on, if fucking Guns N' Roses can do it with Chinese Democracy and they're working on an album for that long, I kind of expected Tool to be able to do the same too.
Yeah, but moving away from Tool for just 1 second, think about all the impact, like as a musician, Tool had on all the different bands each time they released. The sound. I'm pretty sure like every prog band or like metal band, the moment Tool released an album back in the day, went and said, okay, how do we kind of replicate this sound? How did they do this? And
yeah.
So that's exactly the same way I was expecting the new album to be. Something which would be groundbreaking sonically in a way.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? The expectation is because of the long wait.
True.
In my opinion. Now, if Fear on Inoculum was to have released in a proper continuing album cycle, which is to say like maybe, 2 or 3 years after 10,000 Days, I don't think it would have been this hyped. And that's a hot take.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, you know how Tool fans are, right? And that's how we kind of...
Yeah, but back then, yes, you had Tool fans, but they weren't as Tool fanny as the current Tool fans.
No,
you completely get where I'm coming from, right? Yeah.
I mean, social media is a huge...
Exactly. The internet has come in now, and over the last decade, everyone's discovering this band, and primarily everyone's discovering this band through either schism or fucking they're discovering the band by discovering the Golden Spiral and going into like, holy shit, Fibonacci sequence, Lethal Alice, oh my god, this band is coolest thing ever with hidden messages, etc., etc. Yeah. Okay.
Let's get down.
Let's actually get down to it. Okay. So here's what I did to try and actually construct some sort of a review or an opinion on Fear Inoculum. First, let me paint you a picture of the album without any context. So the rule that I had in my head was, what if this album was a completely anonymous release?
I love that.
Yeah? It was a completely anonymous release. Nothing absolutely to define it being a Tool album. Okay? So if you think about it that way, production, top fucking notch. I'll give it. The production is beautiful. It is a really good sounding album. I loved the mastering. I loved the mixing. I love how each instrument stands out. I love how everything is a hero while still gelling together. And it sounds fucking epic on headphones.
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful to listen to.
And,
right?
and that's the thing. Like, I was very specific knowing what kind of standards Tool follows, that I want to kind of isolate myself.
Of course,
to it.
It needs
a proper listen. It needs a proper thing.
Again, don't bring context into this. At the moment, I'm still thinking of this as an anonymous release. So yes, production, full fucking 12 on 10 marks. Yeah, beautiful production. Next, let's talk about musicianship. Okay, musicianship on the album, I could clearly tell that these are people who definitely know how to play their instruments and are going to keep on trying to improve at what they're trying to do. And that especially is true of the drummer. He's doing some outstanding, mind-blowing stuff, which I didn't perceive. It's almost wow. It is groundbreaking in that sense of manner. But that's the drumming. The bass is excellent. It's strong throughout. It does a lovely job of just coming slightly into the background and locking in with the drums, which is a challenge over here, right? Because over those drum beats and over those polyrhythms, it's tough to play any sort of hooks or any sort of a progression. It's tough to figure that out.
It took me a while to wrap my head around the drumming.
Right, which then brings me into the guitars. Again, the guitars and the entire ambient soundscape that goes along with it. Again, all of it tells me that this is something that's been extremely planned out. It's been something that, it's not a product of people going into a jam room, jamming a couple of times, and that's it. It looks like a long period of work, right? And that, even if you give this, even if you put it back into context and say this is a Tool album, but if you give this to somebody who's never heard of Tool before, they'll have this similar viewpoints too. So musicianship, good musicianship. Songwriting and song structuring, that is something that I didn't really enjoy a lot. All of the songs are extremely long, which is not bad. I love long songs. You could tell because all my music on my mind picks are well over 40 minutes long, right? So I enjoy long albums. Over here, however, it seems to be the case that it's long for the sake of being long. Or even if you remove that base comment and say it's lengthy because of the need for repetition of each and every riff so many times, then it makes you question why the fuck does there need to be so many riffs, and why is most of the songwriting on most of the songs on this album pretty much formulaic. You have a lovely ambient intro, you move on to a beautiful verse, chorus, sudden pause, breakdown. Breakdown moves back into the intro part or moves out of the entire song.
And I'm glad you used that term, because that was one of the terms I wrote, where I was like, by the first song you're like, okay, cool. Second song, okay, cool. By the fourth or fifth, by the time you get into the longer songs, you're just like, all right.
I mean, you're already getting into the longer songs right from the beginning.
No, but I'm saying other than the interlude parts, right?
Yeah,
but I'm saying after the first couple of tracks, then it just kind of sets a template. And
exactly, yeah, it seems like templated songwriting, which is what bugs me.
For me, and I'm going to add this later, but I'm going to just make a allude to my point later. Except one track from all the tracks stood out for me.
Which
really.
one?
The ninth one.
Which is the ninth one? Seven Tempest.
Tempest, yeah.
Tempest with a 7.
7.
Instead of a T.
Okay, but going back to what you were saying, like, forget who the band is. By the time I've invested so much time listening to these tracks, right, it becomes a little annoying. That's how I felt.
It's not annoying for me. I'm just I'm trying to think of why was this approach chosen for almost each and every song on this album. Like
you could fast forward the first 2 minutes and not like really miss anything, right? A minute or two, and that's what I kept
here or there. Yeah.
Like a minute
on
average.
Some songs, yes. On some songs, no. What really stood out? Okay. What really stands out for me is that Chocolate Chip Trip, which is holy fucking shit. It's just crazy, man. It's absolutely bonkers crazy. It's beautiful. Like it's just such a. It's basically telling the drummer, "Hey drummer, go and do your thing." We need 5 minutes of drum solo.
Yeah.
Bajao.
The way I felt it was, it's like, you have those times where when you're watching a live show and the bands need to like
fill time
or change their guitars or tune or whatever, change their tuning.
But holy shit, what a fabulous composition.
It stands right? Like there are really elements like you can just pick out and be like, I want to listen to this again.
Yeah.
So I went back and listened to it just to kind of figure out like, what the hell is he playing? Like how many limbs does this guy have, right?
Exactly, yeah. So great. We kind of agree on this. Now, the next aspect, lyrics. It's introspective lyrics. It makes you ponder about life. It makes you ponder about yourself. It makes you ponder about the world. Decent lyrics. Again, nothing really outstanding per se, but it works.
Yeah.
It works with the music.
Yeah, it goes well with the music.
I think the singer is standing back a little bit, allowing the music to drive the entire thing forward and to be the star on the album.
So the way I would say, and
I don't
use it-
think I don't think the vocal is the star of the album.
to use the cliche term, like the vocal is just one of the instruments, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
That's
definitely.
how I feel about
Cool.
it.
Yeah, same here. All right, fabulous. And now, as an overall album, it's a strong release. Is it the best fucking thing since sliced bread? No, it's not. Now, let's put things into context. I would say, and this is how I would define this album, it's the most Tool-like of all Tool albums. If you were to get a guy and introduce him to Tool, you would make him first listen to this album and then say, well, that is your introduction. Now go and fucking discover the discography, because the rest of the discography, barring 10,000 Days, is so much more better.
I have purposely not read any reviews of the album. I've not watched any of those reaction videos because
Neither have I.
I wanted to have a little unique. I mean, I wanted to use my mind for once, right? I don't want to be swayed by somebody's fanboyism and things like that. And we've talked about how Tool fanboys
Exactly,
are, right?
yeah.
But okay, I'm going to add this now since you've said this. So, again, audiophiles, forgive me, but because I was at work yesterday, I was listening to the album on YouTube. Still sounds great on YouTube.
It still sounds... Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
fucking brilliant production.
Yeah.
It sounds good no matter what medium you're listening to.
So when I was listening to the track, and again I'm going to butcher this name, which is Litanie contre la Peru. I can't remember.
That's one of the segs.
For me, if I have to kind of encompass everything I have to say, this is the thing. The first comment on YouTube is, and I quote, "This is literally the auto-tuned and vocoded whining of the fan base for the past decade." I mean, some people just get it. And, as much as I hate reading YouTube comments, when I read that, I was just like, I don't think I can put it better, man. The way I looked at it, right? And my approach was pros and cons. I was like, okay, let's do this. And for me, again, with the kind of expectations I had going into the album, I was like, okay, let's listen to it. I heard the single, then I said, fuck, should I have heard the single? Now, is it going to be like all 10-minute songs and stuff like that?
Wait, let me ask you this. When we first heard Fear Inoculum, what was your first reaction?
I was like, why have they taken riffs from all their older songs and just kind of
Exactly my fucking point. It sounded so much like Tool.
Yeah.
Right?
It sounded too,
It sounded... Okay, now I'll get the flip side of this conversation. When Iron Maiden releases a new record, it sounds like fucking Iron Maiden. When Metallica releases a new record, now, hopefully, it'll sound like Metallica. When Slayer releases a new record, hopefully now it'll sound like Slayer. Or, I don't know,
But
Testament, Meshuggah, Dillinger Escape Plan, anybody. When they release a new album, you expect it to sound like them.
True.
Okay? And you expect it to have maybe some sparks to indicate where the band is going towards. I couldn't find that on this album. Where is the band trying to go? Because this honestly, it seems like, don't get me wrong, I love some of the songs here, and I think this is a very strong songwriting album, but in the context of it being a Tool album, it doesn't hit each and every check mark that I want, because I want to see Tool literally trying to do something which the rest of the which hasn't yet been done,
and which everyone will kind of follow, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's
And on this album, the only person to actually really do that is Danny fucking Carey.
There's nothing I can say about him that you've already not said, because man, as somebody who's not a drummer, I was just like,
I can't fucking envision how he plays what he plays.
I did that.
It's tough.
Yeah, I did that with Chocolate Chip Trip. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah,
Played it two or three times.
So that's definitely a big highlight for both of us.
Yeah.
Right? For all of the things that Adam Jones has done on this album, it still seems like he's stuck on this weird Lateralis patch or sound effect, and on the same fucking note choices, right? Like, I mean, even the solos, they seem like old riffs or rehashed, unused riffs.
The only song, and I'm coming back to what I said earlier, is track 9. Tempest with 7 as...
7
I don't
Tempest.
know why they use that. But
Because
that's
it's
the
Tool, man.
that's the only
You don't
song
get it.
I felt that it was like old Tool and Maynard back in being Maynard.
So
Dude.
here's the thing about 7 Tempest. That song to me is the tooliest of all Tool songs ever because it encompasses each and every era of the band.
Yeah. And you know, after like the first minute or so, which becomes like a familiar intro, Maynard straight goes into "Here we go again," and I was like, "Yeah, come on!" And then he just goes into, you know,
Yeah,
the Tool that I remember.
It's probably the heaviest.
Yeah.
It's probably the heaviest song of this album. A
You-
case can
you
be
have
made
that-
for it, but
You have that frantic vocal delivery that he kind of does.
Yeah. It sounds like something that wouldn't be amiss on either an Anima or a Lateralus.
Yeah.
And that's my point. Each and every song here could be retrofitted onto Lateralus or onto 10,000 Days, and you wouldn't fucking complain.
I just feel overall, just to kind of make my thoughts on the album known, I would have just removed probably or cut part of the intros out. Or the
Shortened it a
fillers.
little bit.
Yeah, this is a very bloated album. And I'm
It
not
seems
saying this,
indulgent.
yeah, and I don't know, like, for me, the way I think about it is considering you had all these guys posting on social media, I can't remember their names now, like, oh yeah, I got the new Tool album. Did nobody tell them that, hey guys, what's going on? And considering they had 13 years to work on this, man.
But, okay, so again, because we are talking about this in context now, so let's bring in the fact that it is released 13 years later. The world is fucking dying for a Tool album, right? It's something that will make... And think about it, 13 years back, people who were into Tool would be the ones who have a lot of money now to spend. So it doesn't surprise me that Tool is a hot topic in that way. And for all you fucking say about Tool being the, I don't know, the Bible givers or that sort, or like, you know, being the miracle workers, etc., whatever, yes, there are stories and there are lots of fans who I may be pissing on right now, but Tools, at the end of the day, Tool is a fucking band. It's a tool, right?
Yeah.
And it seems more like a commodity, and it's been wrapped or marketed so well that it's great that everybody's listening to it, and the fact that they're finally on streaming and etc. and all their albums are out, etc. is fabulous. But yeah, was it worth the 13-year wait? No, it wasn't.
And coming back, I still remember first time listening to Vicarious and being like, whoa, okay, this is like interesting.
Vicarious didn't do as much for me as, like, you know, The Pot did or Rosetta Stone did.
Yeah. And then I went and listened back. So while I was listening to the album, I went and listened to Vicarious and I was like,
holy fucking
are
shit, right?
Are these guys listening to their own music?
Exactly, right?
That's what I felt. But okay, just my concluding part. And the way, considering how commodified music is, I would probably buy the MP3s of this just to keep them and listen to
I
at
want
some
that
point.
CD. I definitely want that physical packaging, only to see how the fuck.
Which
they
one? The
managed to-
€90 one?
The 90 euro? It's 90 euros?
Yeah.
I want the one which has that video screen in it.
Yeah, that's 90 euros.
Because honestly, I love Adam Jones' video work, and I think that will be
With the
trippy as hell.
rechargeable cable and stuff.
Yeah. That'll be trippy as shit to do, man. Like, I would want to figure that technology out, like how they managed to compress all of that down into an album. Because
I'll stick to just like listening to the MP3s.
I'll probably buy it a year or so later when it's finally available everywhere and at maybe reduced prices too. Like, I'm not going to go out right now and pay like, I'm not going to do that.
It's 90 euros, apparently.
It's fucking too much.
Yeah, and you know what? Considering Tool fans and all that we've said about them, I'm pretty sure that'll sell out fast.
It's already sold out, right? You can't get a copy of it.
Not surprised.
Yeah, whatever. So it's a great package to own, man. And that artwork is fabulous. So would I go out and purchase it? Yes, of course I will. Am I glad that it's out on streaming? Yes, I am. But yeah, I think that kind of sums up what our collective thoughts on Fear and Inoculum were. We both agree that it's a strong release, but it's not worth the 13-year wait.
I'll go probably, like, again, it's only been a week or so. Less than a week, actually.
I've listened to it fucking gazillion times, I think.
I'll
In
probably
entirety, that too.
Yeah, I'll
And
probably
on
go back and
various
listen to it a
different
few times.
mediums, formats, etc.
But am I going to be like somebody who's going to tell people like, yeah, this is the best album you have?
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
Let's be honest.
I'm not even sure if it'll make my top 10 albums of the year.
There's so much good music. being
Exactly.
released at the
Yeah,
moment.
there's so much good music that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. The other 3 albums that you put out,
All the ones that you picked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could spend like, at least my 3 picks, I think you can spend the entire time listening to that. You'll spend listening to a Tool album. And that's saying a lot.
Okay, cool. Wow. All right. Just to leave the fans off on a happy note, favorite song of the album?
I'm going to call it Tempest. Sorry, man.
7M Pest.
7M Pest.
For me, it's Pneuma, only because I love that plodding riff.
That comes a close second.
Yeah,
for me.
Pneuma is a very strong song, man. It's
Just
a brilliant
question,
song.
if I'd have to like, and this is only because we both heard the single.
Yeah.
If now having heard the album, if you had to put out a single, which one would it have been?
Good question. I'd probably go with Pneuma or with Descending. I wouldn't have gone with 7M Pest at all because it's fucking 15 minutes long. So that doesn't make sense. But then again, fucking Fear Inoculum is like topping charts everywhere and it's a 10-minute long song. But it's not the strongest song on the album by a long shot.
Here's me taking a complete different view on it.
You would have gone with Chocolate Chip Trip.
You know why? Because every Tool fan would have been like jizzing their minds over, going like, "Oh my God, did you hear that drums? Did you hear that drums?"
That's actually, and this, I'll put it into context. Peter's a marketer, and would that step have helped sell more or create more hype around Fear Inoculum? Completely, because then the world would have finally, or Tool would have given something which at the moment I don't think it has given. It's one of its fan bases at least, which is the fact that holy shit, I'm doing something which the rest of the music industry at the moment or the rest of the bands at the moment aren't doing.
And that would have been a real
Tool thing to do. Correct. I think it's exactly that, right? So it's kind of like the Saint Anger of Tool, right? Because and we'll eventually have a discussion about that, I'm sure. What is this concerning? It's the fact that I think Saint Anger is a good album, but too bad it was released by Metallica. Similarly, Fear Inoculum, great fucking album, good album actually. Too bad it's released by Tool. Wow, that feels like I've lifted a huge weight off my shoulders. I don't know why it felt like a responsibility, but it felt like a responsibility for me to go out there and talk about Tool's new album.
And I think
are we music journalists now, Peter?
I think we're influential in the niche space of
balls. We're not influential at all. You're thinking these things up in your head, and I don't know where these ideas are coming to you from. If you look at our listenership, whatever, it's totally doesn't suggest that we are influencers in any manner. But we have the almighty disposable income.
Yeah.
And would you put that disposable income on buying this Tool album? You've already heard the answers from us, so I'm not going to repeat it. If you disagree with us, which I'm sure a lot of you butthurt people do, reach out to us. We are at HornsUpPod. I'm at Asmo Ani.
And I'm Trent Crusher.
And till next time, horns fucking up.
Horns up, guys.